Thanks for jumping
Yeah.
on Zoom, and yeah, I've been following you for a while now. I can't remember where I first saw your swizzle sticks. I know that we met up at an event at the warehouse in Marina Del Rey, and I saw you there, but I think I'd found you online. Maybe it was just on Etsy or on Facebook. Uh, I,
Mhm.
I I can't remember exactly, but I was definitely like super impressed with what you're doing, man. It's really awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of work goes into this stuff, so it was nice seeing you at yeah, it was at the warehouse,
Yeah,
right? Shipwreck.
yeah, exactly.
I think I followed you a while before that because I saw like your home tiki bar and all that crazy Papua New Guinea and your crazy thing you built over there.
Yeah,
Was it during COVID time you built that?
yeah, it was a COVID project. We had just bought our house.
Oh,
We were living overseas for a while in France, and we moved back, rented for about a year or so, and then found a house that we wanted to buy, and just happened to be right in the middle of COVID.
yeah, I think a lot of people found tiki during that time too.
Yeah, I had been into it uh,
Okay.
before COVID, but had never really built a proper home bar,
Mhm.
until that, and then we just had the space essentially in our garage, and so
Yeah.
uh, that became the project.
Awesome. Yeah, you got the space. Yeah. Yeah. My bar is outside. So my garage is full. I got my cars in there. So yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to build it out in the backyard. So it's kind of like an outdoor tiki bar, which is pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah,
Exposed to the elements. Get
that's the next expansion of Stolen Idol is to but our the the bar is right, we have an outdoor patio area that opens, there's to the back of the garage essentially, so that becomes the entrance to the bar.
right.
But there's no more room in there now. It's completely maxed out. So I think it'll be moving outside.
Yeah. Outdoors, you get a nice patina on all of your stuff. So
I'm sure.
works with the tiki. So yeah, what's
Well,
going on?
when did you start making the swizzles, and was it always kind of a intended to be a business, or was it something you were just doing for yourself that evolved? What's the backstory?
So the backstory is it all started in May of 2022. So before that, I purchased a home in 2020. So I had my own place, and then I started getting into making cocktails like old fashions and Manhattans and things like that. That's kind of like what I started with, like smoky old fashions, things like that,
Mhm.
and then trying to perfect it, make my own syrups and getting the nice top quality rum or bourbons and things like that. Um, and then my girlfriend, which is my fiance now, she one day, because she's been drinking them too, but she said, "Oh, I want a mai tai." So I started researching like how to make a mai tai and knowing like trying to get the right recipe. You know, there's lots of different mai tai recipes out there, orange juice, pineapple juice, and I just wanted the original mai tai. So ended up getting or finding a couple recipes and then learning about the history of the mai tai, which was from Trader Vic's. So trying to find that original recipe online. Finally figured, tracked it down, made the cocktail. My girlfriend, fiance now, she loved it. I loved it. It was like eye opener. And then while I was drinking it, I was like, it'd be kind of nice to have like a real paddle, you know, because it's like it's cold. You got all the ice in there. And I at the time I just had some plastic straws, and it wasn't like plastic cup. Wasn't like I was feeling that escapism through the drink, but it was just I wanted a paddle. So then I had some leftover resin from a previous project I worked on, which was like making tap handles. So I made a few tap handles for a brewery down the street from me in Rancho Cucamonga called Sour Cellars. And I had a little bit of extra resin left over. So I was like sculpted all my swizzles, I hand sculpt everything. So I sculpted the original design and then made a mold, casted it, and then came up with the this little classic wooden paddle. So
So that's
this is,
that's your original swizzle, the wooden paddle.
yeah, so this was like one of the first ones here, just the wooden paddle. And then, but before I released this one, I made one for myself. It was just out of some like magic sculpt, so it wasn't like cast out of resin, didn't have a metal wire or anything like that. It was just kind of beta, just testing it out. Worked well, and I thought maybe other people might like them. Like I tried doing research, I tried looking online, trying to find some cool Tiki Swizzle sticks. Couldn't find really anything. All I would find was the made in China, like mass produced, just plastic with like the bar name on it and things like that. And seeing all these cool mugs, that people spend so much time on, so much money out there now. You need to pair it with something. Like I just felt like that disconnect of that nice handmade mug with that little plastic like bar name on it just didn't connect. You kind of lose that escapism. And so I made my own paddle just to try to complete that escapism. But yeah, this was not the first one that I released. The very first one that I released was these guys.
I remember
So
those. Yep.
yeah, so this one was sculpted based off of the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disneyland. One of
Yep.
the little tikis out in the front. I didn't put the tongue out of his mouth. I just kind of wanted to be a little bit different, but similar. And then you got on the top the little cobras that stick out. So this was kind of like a thing to Tiki Diablo, which really kind of got me really interested in it. Sculpting these originally was his Cobra mug from Tiki Tees.
Okay. Yep.
So that's why I kind of put the little Cobra on there. And this was the very first one. And I kind of was like almost ready just to kind of make this just like my one and only premium just swizzle sticks. But then I had this other one laying around. So I was like, okay, well, let me make a mold out of this one and see if people like this one. And then I casted this one, started doing that. I opened up an Etsy shop. That's kind of like the where it all originated from. So when I first made them, I was like, does anybody else like these? Put them on Etsy, and then they started selling, and they started selling quickly. And I was like very surprised, and very very humbled about it. So I was like, this is awesome. So I was like, got to keep up with it. And then was it Shannon, I think, from Secret Island? She reached out to me. They're doing like a little tiki market. So she was reaching out to a bunch of people, and she reached out to us. And at the time, we were kind of getting into it. We started open up like a Facebook or an Instagram. I'm sorry.
I actually think that's where I first saw you, was down at Secret. Was it in Long Beach?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Long
I
Beach.
think that's where I first saw your swizzles, was down in Long Beach at Secret
Oh,
Island.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. That's kind of what started it all in the public for us. So it's mainly on Etsy, and then I wasn't. I was thinking, okay, we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet. But then it's like, why not? Let's just do it. So I had inventory at the time. Had some cool little decor going on. So I designed my booth, my setup, had all my swizzle sticks. At the time, I was selling them really cheap, dirt cheap, pretty much, and they take longer to make than what I was selling them for. But after we started selling a lot, it was hard to keep up, with demand.
Mhm.
So I had to
That
raise
tells
the price.
you, I was gonna say that tells you your pricing is too low.
People are buying like four the same exact same ones at a time. They're just always sold out. All of our so I have a full-time job outside of Tiki Swizzle Sticks as well. I do textile design down in Bell.
Okay.
But it was all of our nights and weekends were spent casting, painting, making swizzle sticks. So yeah, so that's why we had to increase the pricing and figure how much time it takes. A lot of these swizzles, some of them take about 4 hours just to make one swizzle stick. Like it's about the same process, or maybe even a little bit more time consuming than a like an actual mug, tiki mug. I could be wrong, but from what I hear, just what how a tiki mug is made, there's a lot of just waiting for it to be fired and things like after you glaze it. But there's other mug makers, that do multiple layers, which take a lot more time. That's kind of like what I'm doing is like multiple layers. Like some of these swizzles have 7 layers that go on, and each some of the layers I have to wait 24 hours in between layers to make sure it adheres and things like that. Um,
Well, you can definitely tell just looking at them the amount of detail and
yeah,
care and thought, and obviously labor that goes into them. So,
yeah,
it's uh, for something that that's so small. It's like they're like little beautiful little works of art, man, and they definitely kind of complete. Like you said, you've spent some, you spent $100 or 200, but whatever on a mug, on a beautiful mug, to
yeah,
then just stick a plastic straw or plastic generic swizzle stick in it. Doesn't make any sense, and yours definitely completes the whole sort of aesthetic of the drink.
yeah. All
And they're
escapism.
and they're functional, which is great. They're yeah, they and I love it feels like you've I don't know if all of your designs not I know that not all of your designs are Papua New Guinea, but it seems like that was an area that really interested you. A lot of the tikis and masks and uh, the aesthetic feels very much like Papua New Guinea
Yeah,
inspired.
yeah, yeah. A lot of it. I try to keep the authenticness of Papua New Guinea or the Tiki vibe, not too cartoony. I try to keep that essence of what oceanic arts brought to Tiki. So I try
Exactly.
to keep that same similar vibe to it. Um, yeah,
So
the oceanic arts is very inspiring.
how
You
many
know,
different designs do you have now? I mean, roughly, you don't have to be exact, but um,
so I have about 19 different variations, and there's 13 different sculpts currently.
okay. And then is your plan to are you like retiring sculpts and like their limited edition and not going back to it, or are you just sort of cycling through and adding new things as you feel like it, but not necessarily getting rid of old design?
So, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, you froze for a second.
Oh,
Right now we haven't really retired. I've retired one so far. I did like a limited run of one design. Other ones I've started numbering a little bit more time consuming, but more premium swizzles. They're numbered. Eventually, once we start reaching higher numbers and multiple different scopes, I'll probably start to taper off and kind of end it, maybe do a different variation colorway or something. But everyone just seems like they're still interested in them, and so I'm still making them. I think we're at like the numbered ones. They're not too high right now. I mean, like this oceanic arts inspired Papua New Guinea one here that I did. I mean, we're at 48, around 48 swizzles. So,
and
I
are the
mean,
molds like I know with tiki mugs, sometimes the molds over time you lose detail and they only last for a certain run of mugs before you have to make a new master or a new submaster or however that all works. Um, do your molds that hold up for, you know, have you ever hit a point where like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back to the original sculpt and make a new mold or
well, yeah. So the very first one, the classic paddle, the very first mold started to, because I work in with silicone molds. Let me see if I can grab one here. So I make these two-part silicone molds,
okay.
and eventually, after about 50, 60, maybe 100 cast, it starts to like dry out, and then the swizzle will stick to it, and it'll like peel off with it. So the molds get damaged, and then I gotta get rid of them. But before that happened, I was trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to save this mold, to not have to start from scratch again. I mean, I have my original like casting, or the very first casted one that I can use and make another mold, but it's very time consuming. So I have to lay it into some like clay stuff to make the two-part mold, and it takes about 6 hours each side to make the mold. So what I found was I made a reverse mold of the mold with the same resin material to save, so I can make more molds. Initially, like a master mold, like
Right.
how makers are doing it with silicone, but I use resin instead of silicone, or I think they use plaster. No, silicone. Yeah, silicone for their master. So, so yeah, so I was able to save my molds, and then and on top of that, I can make multiple molds of the same design. Because before, when we first started, we had one mold, and it would take forever to be casting. You know, it'd take all day to make 10. Just to make 10
Right.
swizzles take all day. So, but now I think I have some designs. I have two. Some I still have one. Other ones are more popular. I got up to 3 molds now. So
All of your swizzle sticks, or I think all of them, maybe not, but I mean they're hand painted, right? After
yeah,
they're cast, after you've got the swizzle, then you go in and
it,
hand paint every single one.
very tedious. Yes. I'll show you. Here's a like a rack right here of a few swizzle designs here.
I like those racks. Are you still selling those racks? Because I went on your Etsy store and I didn't see them, but I don't know if
Yes, I'm still selling it right now. The Etsy shop is kind of, it took a lot of stuff off for Tiki Oasis.
Mhm.
So for Tiki Oasis coming up in August, I think August 3rd, 4th in 2024. I made about 10 more stands. Yeah, the stands are also, I mean, they look easy to make, you know, it is, but the amount of time it takes to do all the grooves, the cutting, the torching, the staining, the
Did I see
sanding.
did I see one of your stands? I thought I saw a photo of one of your stands that had like little stacks of skulls. Uh,
So
I'm not sure if that was a custom thing or if that or what that was.
I think that was one of our collectors did that to his stand.
Oh,
He
they
customized it.
enhanced the stand.
Yeah, I think when I first released this guy right here, um, I put like these little tombstones on the sides of the stands, and he liked those. I think it was him. It might have been somebody else, but I ended up letting him know where to purchase those because he liked the little aspects of little tombstones to go with that whole thing. Um, but yeah, I think eventually I'll probably need to design some newer stands to make up for the amount of different sculpts we have now. The stand I have now, it fits about seven swizzles. Um, so I think, and now we're up to 13 different sculpts, 19 different variations. And I hear a lot of people describing our swizzles as like collecting like back in the day like spoons, you know,
Mhm.
people's grandma's houses. They have the old spoons hanging on the walls and things like that. So I might do multiple layers to be able to hang. I've got one of my stands. I put like a little bracket on the back to hang on the wall, which is nice. You can get it off your table, put it on the wall. You can still use them. So it's very functional art. You know?
I could imagine a very premium product with one stand with every swizzle you've made. And, and
I mean,
somebody,
some collectors are still some from the beginning, still collecting every single one. So they're
yeah.
keeping up with it, getting their number and everything. And then if they miss out, they miss out on some. Like there was one that I did only 10 of each, which was these guys. This was like a little. zombie
Hmm.
swizzle. So this was based off of these guys. So the same thing here, but with the zombie one, I had to trim off the eyes. I cut the eyes off, and I had to sculpt. Each one was sculpted by hand. The eyes and then the mouth. Get that in focus.
There it goes.
Yeah, and there's like a little like rest in peace at the
Yeah.
top. And then the cool thing about these ones was that they're black light reactive.
Oh, cool.
So there's hidden little things with the black light.
Yeah, that's fun.
So that's yeah, that was our first Halloween one. And then same with our second Halloween. We made about 30 of these. So this one's black light as well. So it glows.
That's very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I'm thinking I might make a few more of these, maybe in a different colorway. Um, maybe a few more red. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, those ones sold out. We made 30 of them. So I might think of it. Think I might wait a year or so, bring more interest first. If people already have this colorway, and it was a little bit more pricier because of the amount of work it took to do all those layers, the distressing, and then add that black light reactive to it. So yeah, we'll see.
Now, what do you do when you're, because you're obviously painting layers and layers on these, but to make them something that you can actually use in a drink and that it's safe, food safe, is there just a something that goes over the top of them to seal everything? And
Yeah. So what it is we do 3 layers of food safe polyurethane varnish. So when I first started, I was looking up, researching food safe varnishes, what to use, and things like that. And I found that polyurethane, once it's cured, is food safe.
okay.
So food safe polyurethane water-based varnish, 3 coats, and it's a matte finish. Our first layer is like a gloss just to seal everything completely, and then the last 2 layers are a matte that gives that matte finish, the wood look to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those take a long time actually to varnish 3 layers, and it's all by hand too. We have these foam brushes or rollers. We do it all by hand because the spray stuff doesn't work
Now,
on wood.
is this you and your fiance basically doing the whole
Yep.
thing? Is it, or do you have you started bringing in extra help?
No, we haven't brought any extra help yet. Yeah, it's just me and my fiance and her daughter, soon to be stepdaughter. Yeah, we're just casting, painting, varnishing, packaging, doing everything.
And you still hold down a full-time gig, your main profession, right? So, well, I'm sure you're busy.
Yeah, extremely nights and weekends. It's all this Swizzle Sticks. No, not too many vacations, not too many nights out on the town. Just at home, casting, painting, just a lot of it.
Could
But
you
it's worth it, you know. It's nice.
could you imagine segueing into this full time at some point, or?
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. Eventually, if I can put, yeah, eventually get out of my full time job and focus on tiki stuff full time. That would be ideal. Right now, my fiance, she's going to school right now to be a dental hygienist. So after she kind of gets into that, finds her career in dental hygiene, um, I might be able to start trickling out because right now I pay everything, mortgage, everything. So this Tiki does helping a lot, and everyone loves these swizzle sticks, so it's keeping me going, keeping me motivated to keep going. So it's been every year I try to come up with more and more designs. The last few years, it seems like every 2 months I was coming up with a new swizzle. And then we started to sell out quickly on everything. Every time I release one on Etsy, sell out in like 2 days, it'd be gone, or day, yeah. Um, and then just to keep up with demand. So it's been trickier now that we've got to 19 different variations to try to keep all those in stock and be producing more. So eventually, yeah, we're gonna have to start trickling out of some older designs and move more into newer ones. Maybe make a few here and there, So we'll
Now, are
see.
you still, because I know your Etsy store is still open, but are you also selling on a private, your own website as well, or is everything still going through at the Etsy store?
Everything's still going through Etsy and the shows we do.
Okay.
Eventually, I would like to get off Etsy and open up my own shop, Spotify or Shopify or some other shop, just so I have more control. Uh, but haven't yet. I looked into it. Eventually, that's the goal, to get off Etsy. But the thing about Etsy, they make it so easy.
Sure.
So convenient that people see that never even heard of us before. They might stumble upon it. I'm getting orders from all around the world. I've gotten orders from Germany, Australia, Canada, everywhere. And I'm just like, how do they find me?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because anybody, if they search tiki or they search cocktail swizzle sticks or whatever variation, you probably pop up in the recommendations, which if you had your own website, whether Google would do that or not is right. Who knows what those algorithms are and if you're going to get the same traffic.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Have you been approached by any commercial bars to design swizzles for their bars?
Um, Not any main bars, no. Um, I have been approached by a few people to do like collaborations, or if they can get a custom swizzle. And I always say, at this time, I can't right now, because for us, it really doesn't make sense, because about a new swizzle happens every 2 months, and the amount of time and effort it takes and cost, it takes to make one swizzle. To make one swizzle, the new one I just did, it took about 4 months from start to finish on this guy.
Wow.
This is the new one that we're releasing, a Tiki Oasis, in two different colorways.
And what's the bottom? Is it a paddle? Oh, cool.
That's the
Uh,
Adventureland, and on the
yeah.
back has
Oh, so cool.
this. So these ones, from start to finish, from concept to the final, we made 50 of them, 25 of each colorway so far. Took about 4 months.
Well,
So
essentially, if somebody wanted a custom swizzle for their bar, the only cost effective thing for you would be like, okay, you've got to essentially buy 50 swizzle sticks. They'd almost have to like, it'd have to be like what a successful run would be for you. Somebody
yeah,
would basically
exactly.
do that to make it, the equivalent of what you would do if you were sculpting
Yeah,
and selling one.
yeah, and it'll have to like fit into what we're doing too, to make sense. Like I wouldn't want to be able to, or wouldn't want to have to make a swizzle that doesn't really fit into what my artistic
Sure.
vibe is,
Yeah.
as well. And then also the costs. I mean, they are high dollar costs. They do cost a lot, but
What is the price range on your swizzles? I know they range depending on the complexity, but
yeah. So right now, I mean, this one right now is $40
paddle. Yep.
paddle. So it ranges $40 all the way up to this one. This one was 180 that we sold out of.
Okay. And your new one the one you just showed me, that's gonna come
And
out of Tiki Oasis?
that one is 135. 135 each. It was a little bit less time consuming than some of the other ones, like this. This one's 150. This one's a little bit more time on this guy with all these like feathers and all this detail.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then we have this guy here, this Rongo. This guy's 150 currently. With all these fruit basket up top, all these different colors.
Well, just the painting alone of something like that must be a big chunk of the time involved. It's not just the creation of the stick, but the actual detailing and all the painting is
Yeah.
probably more than half the time of the production of it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Just painting alone, I think this one was like 2 hours for one swizzle. Took me 2 hours
Yeah,
time on painting. There's many different layers, colors. So it's hard for me or hard for us right now to like make sense of the price because like working with a bar, obviously they're going to want a lower cost. They're not going to want to pay $150 per swizzle,
right.
so to be able to sell it at a lower cost to them so they can make a profit, it's a little trickier, or else these swizzles would have to be a lot higher. So it's just trying to find that ceiling price of what people are willing to spend, on swizzle sticks.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine when you start getting up to, $150 is like the cost of a pretty nice mug.
yeah,
So you're probably plateau of like what
yeah,
people will spend on their swizzles. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to see how far I can push it to with keeping in mind the amount of time. Like obviously I'm not going to charge $150 for something like this. It just depends on how much work I'm actually putting into it, is what dictates the cost of these swizzles. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like right now these prices are pretty much rock bottom of what I can be doing it, or else I pretty much go out of business. We wouldn't
Sure.
be able to make like people wanting a discount. It's like, well, they can't really give you a discount because then it's not fair to other people and the amount of time it takes me to make these. Like it's hard. Like if I gave everyone a discount, then I'd be pretty much out of business. Wouldn't be able to do it anymore. I have no
No,
life outside of work and twizzle sticks and
they're
events.
beautiful. They're beautiful. They're works of art, and you should, you're putting your heart and soul into it and your time into it, and you should not be hesitant to charge what it's worth, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then before swizzle sticks, I mean, I've always been an artist growing up. I really was into like Disney art, the old animation and things like that, which really kind of got me in doing art, old cartoons. Uh, and then high school art classes, it's like listen to punk music, graffiti, and then I started like really focusing on like fine art, which kind of there's an artist by the name of Greg Simpkins that goes by Crayola, which kind of I like he started off as a graffiti artist and he kind of opened my eyes to like what you can do with just like acrylic paint. Because a lot of time you in art school or learning about art, it's all fine art like oil paintings from the masters, all Victorian era, but you never see like acrylic master paintings that I've seen because that's what I use in art class. So he's kind of like what kind of got me into it. Him, Mark Ryden. Mark Ryden's more acrylic, or I'm sorry, oil based, but just his aesthetic, you know,
Mark
incredible.
Ryden, funny story. My Mark Ryden's daughter was in school with my daughter in Pasadena, and she got invited over to his house for a play date one time, and she came home and she's like, "Dad, his bathroom has all these weird pictures of Abraham Lincoln." One time he auctioned off one of his pieces at a school event, and I to this day I still kick myself for not buying it. It was, it wasn't cheap, right? He wasn't an unknown artist. He was, a well-known artist at the time, but I'm sure that has probably skyrocketed since.
Yeah, but his crazy. Like the amount of like the cost of his stuff, like just a print's a couple $1,000 just for a little print, So it's like whoa. But what really got me interested in his stuff is like that, like what are, like meat. I was like the little kids with meats, like brought like meat dress or
That was the one he auctioned off. It was a girl wearing a meat dress.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
She- yeah, it's crazy mind. But yeah, him, Mark Riding, Greg Simpkins, a lot of that kind of LA art, graffiti art, punk, escapism. Was it Ron English? Um, yeah, a lot of that kind of what inspired me to create art. Um, and then I think back in high school, I went to an art gallery. It's called Gallery 1988 in LA on Melrose Avenue. It's called
Okay.
Gallery 1988. I went to an art show with Greg Simpkins, his artwork there. That was the first time seeing these crazy paintings I saw in a book, in person, the amount of detail, on this little picture, there's so much detail going on. It's like, oh, you can do this kind of stuff with just acrylics. And so knowing that it was possible, so it kind of opened the door for me. Um, and then a few years later, I actually got into that same gallery and I was showing some of my pieces at the same gallery that where I first saw Greg Simpkins and his art. So it was pretty awesome. So
Now, are you still doing other besides the tikis? Are you still doing fine art and painting and
no, I've kind of tapered off a little bit. Just haven't found time to do the paintings. Because some of these paintings I would spend 2, 3 months straight just painting. There's so much time that goes into these paintings, and it was just a hard market to sell paintings because spending 3 months on one painting, I would have to charge almost like 10 grand for one painting. That it took me three months, just to make sense of it. And it's hard to find somebody willing to spend $10,000 on a painting that don't really know too much about the artist, or not famous artists. So I had to kind of taper down and make smaller paintings, more affordable paintings. So I did. I'll show you one of my paintings. This is a painting I did based off Edward Scissorhands.
yeah, sure.
Um, it's all acrylics. It's a 6x8 framed wood board. So that was one of them that I did for the gallery. Luckily, I didn't sell it because I love this painting and I didn't really want to sell it. So, and the galleries, it's a tough business for artists. Galleries take 50% commission. So you sell a painting for $500, you're only making $250. So it really didn't make sense. It's 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 tough being an artist or a painter. Is another one.
Very cool.
So this is off Fantastic Mr. Fox. Um, a few more. This is a drawing I did of the Miyazaki movie, Spirited Away. You will see that. So I did this one for a show in Hawaii, actually, for Powwow. So Powwow is like this big event in Hawaii that a bunch of graffiti artists from around the world come together and they paint the whole city, graffiti murals and everything like that. And they had like a gallery, and I was able to put that, and then I also did this one. So this is the painting off of that drawing. So it's a lot of time, a lot of
Beautiful work.
small, that go into these paintings. Same with this guy here. So this is the Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger, a lot of detail. It's all acrylic paintings, all acrylic. But the amount of time it takes for those, I mean, I love painting. I love coming up with new characters and designs and creating like a whole escapism with this world that I've created with these paintings. But just finding the time to do it and be able to sell them, it wasn't really working out for me. So I sell them here and there. Like a lot of people are buying drawings, you know. So I was selling a little bit coffee stain drawings were like a big sellout for me with with the galleries. They're like 250 bucks for a piece of uh 6 by I don't know 5 by 7 watercolor paper that I dyed with coffee grinds, and I draw a pencil and put some white charcoal on there. It really pops. So I was selling those every time, but Swizzle Sticks kind of just opened up this new door for me, and everyone, this whole tiki community is so awesome.
Yeah, that's what I found is that people are very supportive of artists and are willing to spend money. They're willing to invest in their bars and in artists they like um and it's great. It's really it's and as someone who's an artist, I'm sure it's like being able to express yourself and be creative and then have people support it. Uh must be satisfying.
Yeah, and that was the big thing with Tiki that I found out, that people in the Tiki world have some money to spend, which is awesome because then I can create stuff, like really spend the time and actually create the product that people want rather than just doing something because it's cheap, just because somebody they don't want to pay for it, but now people are willing to pay the little extra for that handmade, made in the USA by an actual artist rather than something that's 3D printed, made overseas. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, haven't done any.
Man, I really love what you're doing and I'm glad it's taken off and working out. I don't know if you saw I did an interview a few weeks ago with Bubbaloo Clay Jams. I don't know if you've seen his mugs, but your swizzles have a very similar aesthetic. Take a look at he's got a Instagram, it's Bubbaloo Clay Jams. And like your work, every single one of his mugs is they're not mass produced. Every single one is hand sculpted, and it's very Papua New Guinea kind of inspired. And I'm hoping to have one of his mugs before too long, and I think one of your swizzles would go really well in there. So I'll be hitting you up for that soon.
Yeah, it was we, the whole Tiki Rob thing. He kind of was like the master in the whole mug community. When he passed, it was a big sadness, in the Tiki community. Um, it's kind of He reached out to me before, like wanting to do a swizzle, like collaboration. He hit me up. We were working on something, trying to figure something out. But it just never came to fruition, which is it sucks, but
Yeah.
I was hoping one day to be able to get one of his mugs too, but I wasn't able to. It was yeah. So
Well, so you're headed off to Tiki Oasis?
yes,
Yep.
very excited.
It'll
That's
be
gonna be our
exciting. I'm bummed
first
that I'm not there. I'll be in rainy Melbourne.
year. We've been working on Swizzles, getting ready for Tiki Oasis for about 5 months now. We haven't gone to any events all year. We've just kind of been head straight to Tiki Oasis because knowing last year everyone's selling out, uh, just getting ready for the madness, it's super crazy. So we've just been building up inventory. Haven't really been releasing any other things online, because if I put it online, it's going to sell out and we'll have no inventory. So yeah, Tiki Oasis, very excited. Shout out Tiki Tony. He's the one that kind of got us in there. He hooked it up there. I reached out to him trying to get a good word in there. So I've been applying to get in for the last 3 years, and luckily the third year we were able to get in.
I didn't
Through
realize it was that difficult to get a booth.
For some reason, I guess for us, or I think a lot of people, yeah, it's because it's limited space, and a lot of people that are returning get first priority,
Yeah.
and then the people that don't end up going the next year, that kind of opens up room for whoever's on the list. So yeah, luckily we're able to get into Tiki Oasis. We've been designing our booth, getting that set up last couple weeks now. So we've been doing some wood stuff for the booth because you can't at Tiki Oasis you're not allowed to have like a canopy, like a top for fire code safety.
Okay.
So trying to figure out something different because typically we have either the canopy or something else. Um, so we've been building something for the event. So I'm pretty excited. Trying to build that whole escapism that goes with our theme. You know, I got old trunks and old suitcases and just a lot of Jungle Cruise inspired. Everything kind of exists in this Tiki Swizzle 6 world. So it's exciting. Excited.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, man, it's been great talking with you. And when I'm back in town, I'll give you a shout, and maybe you can break away one evening and come over to the bar and meet in person and have a cocktail.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
That
Like
would,
I'm saying that. For and then same here with my bar. So we got our little bar outside. It's a fun time.
yeah, yeah. Enjoy it while the weather's nice.
Yeah, right. But yeah, right now is a lot of mosquitoes, so it's kind of been keeping us indoors a little bit. And yeah, I wanted to show you also. So I know you want to know like what else we're doing. So I've been carving some like little masks as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's right. I meant to ask you, were you thinking of anything beyond the swizzle stick? You know, is there another product line coming?
Yeah, I'm digging the handmade mask. You know, maybe some different designs.
Hmm.
Uh, as far as mugs, I've been wanting to do mugs or a mug design, but it just seems like the mug world is a whole entity on its own, and there's so much uh, like room you need. You need shelving, you need kilns, you need a lot of room to move around and be able to make mugs. And then taking those to different events, you know, you got to load up 50 mugs. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I'll decide to start sculpting some cool mugs. I mean, I'm doing swizzle sticks, so why not mugs? You know, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Like I said, have a look at Clay Jams, because I mean he has a big studio, but I feel like it's a much more um, handcrafted production, as opposed to, trying to have room and space to do 100 mugs, and cast them all and fire them all and do all that. It's much more like it feels more in line with the kind of your aesthetic. Um,
Couple here and there.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he'll basically spend a couple weeks doing a mug and put it on Instagram, and it's like in 3 minutes someone's bought it, essentially.
yeah, yeah. Mugs. I feel like if I was to start getting into mugs, I would have to learn so much more. You know, because I'm such a perfectionist with my craft. You know, and like I would want to make sure that my these mugs were perfect. You know, now the detail and things like that. So yeah, I mean, one day I'll probably if I find some time, I might get into making some mugs here. We'll see, but I don't know. It's kind of nice to be able to share with everybody in the Tiki community, other mug makers, you know. And then I got my swizzle to go with their mug, so it might be. I don't know, because then it would take me off the swizzle six doing
Yeah, of
mugs and
course.
other mug makers. I'll let the other mug makers make the mugs. Maybe I'll do some collaboration with a mug maker. That makes a little bit more sense. You know, they'll do the mug. I'll do something that matches with it that we can sell together. I'll design a mug. They sculpt it, and they can design a swizzle.
Yeah,
I'll sculpt.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so much room for creative expression. And
Yeah.
in the tiki world, there's just so many kind of very different ways you can go, and you've obviously got a big range of talent. I mean, your paintings are beautiful, your sculpting's beautiful, so there's lots of I could definitely see lots of you just need to get rid of that pesky job, full-time job, so free up the rest of your time.
Finding time. What do I want to do? I want to design a new swizzle. I need to cast. I need to paint. What are we doing today? So yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, so just real quick, this is like the initial like concept. So this is like the start of the mug. So I'll do like a little quick sketch or things like that, or even something like this, just sketching like
Mhm.
down here, cannibal eating this top moai right here. That's where that kind of came out of, and then just random little sketches, just little ideas just here and there. Um, but yeah, just
Very
and
cool.
it's tricky because like the way I've been working, I have my base swizzle, or the swizzle is a paddle. All my swizzles I like to have the actual paddle because I find that because a lot of people think swizzle sticks, it's just like a stick in liquid and it's just like a little decor. But I like to have a little functionality to them. So it's an actual paddle that it's round, so you swizzle in your mug like this, which generates the typhoon or whatever you want to call it. I have a cocktail right here. You swizzle it, and actually using thermodynamics gets it nice and cold. It makes your drink even colder after you shake your cocktail. You pour it in. You put a swizzle in there. You swizzle it even more. It actually makes your drink even colder.
Oh, really?
So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, I was testing it out. Like I stuck a thermometer in there and seeing. I think it changed a couple degrees colder after shaking it, pouring it in. I think we're at like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And then after swizzling it for a little bit, it got down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit.
Interesting. Okay.
There's some science behind it too, which is pretty awesome. Um, so yeah, so after I come up with like the bottom part, it's like, what do I do for the top? And they have to kind of coexist in the same world of a swizzle. So making sure that they kind of match, like this Raleigh Crumb paddle. Like at the one at Disneyland, he has a little fruit basket up top. So I just extended it, put the fruit basket here, and I put another little tiki guy up there. So that's a little tricky. And then this one, I think you have this one. You have this
Yeah,
one,
I think I have the parrot. Yep.
or you might have the piranha.
I have I have the piranha. Yes.
So like this is like a classic paddle. I was like, okay, well let's put a little piranha on there, based off of the Jungle Cruise. This one, I think this is based off of a Jungle Cruise, like drawing somewhere a little bit from like a mask on a wall. Put this little toucan. This cool thing about these toucans is the eyes. They're actually a clear resin. It's like a UV
Oh,
resin, so they're actually shinier, which gives a little extra dimension and detail to these. So their eyes actually kind of are glossy. They kind of look real. Um, yeah, it's hard sometimes trying to figure out what am I going to do on the top.
yeah.
I'll have an idea for the bottom, but then what am I going to do for the top? I It used to be not a whole lot, just a like a piece of stone on the top of this paddle. This was actually an actual bamboo from my backyard that I used, and I kind of put clay over to kind of sculpt the actual anatomy to make sure this bamboo was accurate
Uh-huh. Okay.
and everything. So this is to scale, accurate of bamboo. Uh, and then people are like, well, because they wanted to put it in their mug like this. They wanted something sticking out.
The display. Yeah, sure.
It was like it was hiding in their mug, and my idea was trying to use it, make sure it's functional. You're swizzling in your drink, you're actually using the paddle. I wasn't really too like focused up above too much, but eventually we started doing toppers.
Mhm.
So, so yeah, that's just the venture of it, trying to figure out top and bottom. It's not just a paddle, you gotta have something match. So
Yeah.
fun. It's fun.
Super fun, man. It's super fun, and it definitely, like I said, it kind of really completes the aesthetic of the drink and is functional. So it's amazing.
Does. I think nowadays I can't drink a tiki drink without one of my swizzles because it's makes the drink. Like you'd be surprised, if you had never used one before and you actually purchase one, you just get like an entry level one. I mean, this one's 55. This one's like a smaller, right? For a smaller Mai Tai glass, which is like perfect size. Once you get something like this simple, you're not gonna want to go back.
Exactly.
A lot of people, like, as soon as they buy one, they're ready to buy them all now. They're ready, which is awesome. I'm excited that people are loving them and enjoying them. You know, some people they just like to keep it as a keepsake and never use it, but you can use them. So
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great time at Tiki Oasis, and we'll get the newsletter out in the next couple of days, and then I'll put this interview will be up on my YouTube channel too,
okay,
and
cool.
yeah, happy to
Sweet.
spread the word.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Nice talking. And I want to let everybody know that you can find our swizzle sticks at tikiswizzlesticks.com, which will link to our Etsy site. So we sell on Etsy. If you don't see any of our products on there for a lot of things are sold out. You can keep up with us on Instagram at Tiki Swizzle Sticks. So yeah, you can see all of our new up and coming swizzles release. I like to post in my story a lot of new designs and just through the process, from concept, from the very beginning stages and getting people's inputs, colorways, and then like this is the actual like sculpt. It's kind of falling apart a little bit after I casted it, but just showing the process of hand sculpting to that stage. Um, yeah. So Tiki Swizzle at Tiki Swizzle Sticks Instagram and tikiswizzlesticks.com, where you just search Tiki Swizzle Sticks in Etsy, and you should be able to find us.
And I'll put all the links on the news when I send out my newsletter. At the bottom, I put all the links as well, so I'll include all those links for people.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll let you go then. Very nice talking to you. I look forward to the invite to Stolen Idol.
Absolutely.